Picture a man standing in front of a door, not just any door. It's the final door in a game that kills you for losing, and he's standing there for the 99th time. He has beaten every round, every boss, every trap, every monster the game could throw at him, all of it dead at his feet. He earned this. He clawed his way through hell to reach this exact spot, and now the last door is right in front of him. Then the system speaks up. It tells him there's a rule. To open this door, you need at least 5 players standing here. He has one, himself. And before he can even argue, a pillar of light locks him in place, a countdown starts, and the game kills him right where he's standing. No warning, nobody ever told him about that rule. 99 runs and it ends like this. But here's the thing, this man cannot stay dead. At the last possible second, right as the screen tells him he's gone, something activates. A power called the rune of regression. Time rewinds, all the way back past every round, past every death, to the moment before the game even began. He opens his eyes and he's at the start again, except this is not run number 1. This is the 100th time he's done this, and it's the very last charge he is ever going to get. So let me back up and tell you what this game actually is, because you need it to understand how insane the rest of this gets. One day, with no explanation, every single person on the planet between the ages of 15 and 29 gets dragged into a death game. 20 rounds. The rule is simple and it's ugly: kill or be killed. Around 900 million players get thrown in at once, panicking, screaming, dying in the first few minutes because they have no idea what's happening to them. There are status windows, classes, levels, skills, quests, the whole video game menu, except the penalty for reading it wrong is a real death in the real world. Most of these players will never make it out. Our guy has already watched all of it. His name is Min Ryu, and in the game he goes by Black Scythe. He has played this exact death game 99 times. He knows every round before it starts. He knows which boss shows up and when. He knows which players betray who, which safe spots are actually traps, which quests hide a secret path that nobody else even notices. Everyone around him is terrified because they're seeing this for the first time. He's bored because he's seen it 100 times over, and the boredom of a man who has died 99 times is a genuinely chilling thing to sit with. But knowing everything was never his problem. Raw power was never his problem either. He's max level in a world that's still stuck on the tutorial. The problem is that one rule at the final door. 5 players, that's the wall he keeps slamming into. 99 times he showed up alone, and 99 times the game punished him for it, so this run is different. This time he's not just trying to win, he's building something, a group. 4 other people strong enough and alive enough to stand at that final door with him, so the system can't pull the same trick twice. That sounds simple. It really isn't. Because the people he needs are scattered across a game designed to make everyone turn on each other, and half of them don't even know they matter yet. Some of them he has to save, some of them he has to break first, and here's the part that makes this whole thing so much fun to watch. He isn't going to play the game the way you'd expect, he's going to play the players. Quick note before we dive in so nobody gets tripped up in the comments. We are using the official English localization for the names, so our lead is Min Ryu. You might have seen it flipped the other way around somewhere else, but it is the same guy. We are going with the official spelling the whole way through, so that is the setup. A man carrying 100 lifetimes of memory dropped back at the very beginning with one shot left to finally get this right. He knows the map, he knows the monsters. He knows exactly how every one of these rounds is supposed to go, and he's about to play them like someone reading the answers straight off a sheet he wrote himself. This is the story of how the max level player runs the perfect game. Every round, every move, every single person he pulls onto the board, all of it pointed at one goal nobody else can even see coming. And it starts small. It starts with round 1. A swarm of low-level monsters, a field full of frightened players who have no clue what they are doing, and one man in a black coat who already knows exactly how this ends. Let's get into it. So this is where the perfect game begins. Not with some grand plan whispered in a war room, but with a countdown. New Year's Eve in Seoul, a plaza packed shoulder to shoulder, everybody screaming out the last few seconds of the old year like nothing in the world could ever touch them. And standing in the middle of that crowd, hood up, is the one person who knows exactly what's about to happen. Min Ryu. In the game, they'll call him the Black Scythe. Right now he's just the quiet guy nobody's looking at, and his eyes are blue and calm because he has done this 99 times already. Here's what you have to understand about him. Everybody around him is about to have the worst night of their lives. He's bored. When the clock hits 0 and the sky tears open, the entire crowd loses their minds, and Min Ryu barely reacts because he's watched this exact sunrise of horror 99 separate times. That gap right there, a whole city in a panic and one man checking his stats like he's opening an email, that's the show you signed up for. 99 deaths will do that to a person. It burns all the fear out and leaves nothing but the math. The thing that comes down out of the sky calls herself an angel. Long pale hair, huge white wings, a gold-trimmed robe, the whole heavenly package. She looks at all these people counting down to a new year and finds it genuinely funny that they're celebrating when they have no idea what's coming. Some guy in the crowd yells up at her, asks if she's cosplaying, throws an insult. She kills him where he stands. His head just comes apart in front of everyone, and now nobody is laughing. Then she lays out the rules, and this is the whole premise of the series in a single breath. For 20 rounds, on the first day of every month, every human being on Earth between 15 and 29 gets their soul yanked out of their body and dropped into a game dimension. Nearly 2 billion people. You complete the round's quest, you go home until the next one. Finish all 20 and you win your freedom plus one wish, anything you can imagine. The catch, the ugly one, is that only half of each round's players are allowed to survive, and they're spared in the order they finish. Slow means dead. That is the entire machine Min Ryu has been trapped inside 100 times now. Everyone gets one thing before it starts, a single avatar customization. And you can watch the human instinct kick in right away, people making themselves taller, prettier, cooler. A guy named Hwang Yongmin, who used to bully Min Ryu back in their school days, spends his whole customization turning his avatar into a giant slab of muscle. Min Ryu doesn't touch his. He keeps the exact same face and body he's used since his 12th run because vanity is for people who think they've got time to spare. He pulls up his status window, and here is our hero on paper. The name reads human, one word, the game's own spelling of it. Nickname, Black Scythe. Rank, beginner, level 1. Class, none, 3 points in every stat and not a single skill or rune to his name. On the surface he is the weakest possible starting character in the entire game, a level 1 nobody with empty pockets. Except the strongest thing in this death game was never a number on a stat line. It's the 100 lifetimes of memory sitting behind those calm blue eyes. The angel offers everybody a one-time gift, a random rune you can only use while you're still at level 1. Min Ryu uses his, and whatever he rolls actually makes him pause, his eyes flashing red for just a second. The page doesn't show us what it was. Tuck that away somewhere because this is a man who does not get surprised easily, and something just surprised him. Then the first quest drops. Round 1, kill 100 goblins each. His local zone, which the game tags with its own cold little serial code, is about 10,000 humans thrown against 50,000 goblins. Fight to the death. The crowd panics the instant the first goblin comes charging in, everyone scrambling backwards, screaming that it's too dangerous to get close. And Min Ryu walks straight at it. Calm, his eyes go red, a jagged claw of red energy forms over his hand, and he meets the thing head-on. Now why does he do it like that, out in the open, flashy, when he could just quietly farm his 100 kills in a corner? Because he's already thinking 3 moves ahead of everyone alive. He wants an audience. He carves through goblin after goblin in the most eye-catching way he can, telling himself he has to burn the image of his power into these people's minds, and he wants the angel watching too. The stunned crowd starts asking who this guy even is, and somebody blurts out a name for him, Black Scythe. And just like that, the legend has a title before he's even finished the first round. And that's when it turns dark fast. The other players see him drop goblins like it's nothing and get cocky, telling each other these are the weakest monsters in the whole game, that they can obviously do it too. Then the real horde hits. The screaming starts. People who were bragging a second ago are begging for help, getting cut down all across the field, and Min Ryu just keeps working alone in the middle of the slaughter, remembering how it took dying twice in his very first life to finally understand there was no waking up from this place. He pours every stat point into agility because early on nothing matters more than raw speed, and he closes it out. Goblins slain, 100 out of 100, quest complete. And when the round 1 leaderboard posts, Black Scythe is ranked number 1 in his own zone and number 1 across every zone on the planet, with a clear time of 10 minutes and 21 seconds. 10 minutes, while most of the human race is still figuring out which end of the blade to hold. But the reward screen is where he finds something that even he didn't see coming. Checking his titles, there's one sitting there that he says he never saw across all 99 of his previous runs. Last time regressor. He tried to force a second rune of regression onto himself, and the system rejected it, basically telling him the remnants of the rune already burned into his soul confirm that this is his 100th and final regression. As a consolation, that hidden title does something incredible. Die, and he can linger as a soul for 1 full minute, then resurrect at any spot he chooses with his health completely restored. 1 time only, but total. A priest's resurrection only drags you back at 30% health. This one brings him back whole. For the first time in 100 lifetimes, the game handed him a brand new card, and he grins to himself and mutters that he's gotten his hands on something amazing. While he's celebrating, the angel does the coldest thing in the entire episode. There are too many survivors, more than half the zone cleared the quest, so she culls them. She trims the living down to match the number of goblins that died, apologizing like it's a rounding error, saying sorry, my mistake, your numbers are just decreasing to be a little more equal. Players who did everything right dissolve into light. One guy is a single kill short and begs for 1 more second, and he's gone while his friend screams his name. Only half pass in the order they finished. That rule the angel read out loud at the start wasn't a threat. It was a timetable, and this is exactly why Min Ryu's whole strategy exists. Solo, round 1 is easy for him. He can top the entire planet's leaderboard on his own without breaking a sweat, but remember the reason he's even here for 100th try. The final round does not let you finish alone. To open the last door you need 5 people still standing, and on his 99th run he clawed all the way to that door by himself, and the system killed him for it anyway. So every flashy kill, every second he shaves off his clear time, all of it is set up for a problem he can't punch his way out of. He needs 4 other people alive at the very end. Being the strongest was never his weakness. Being alone was, and he's not done pushing his luck either. When he looks at his first place rewards, he decides they're too cheap and just says it to the angel's face, tells her he wants better, that he doesn't like what he got, and she loses it. Behind that serene mask her face fractures into red cracks, a demonic grin splitting across it, because on the inside she's realizing she already spent her 1 allowed authority on something else, which means she literally cannot kill this human no matter how badly she wants to. And off to the side of that leaderboard, by the way, sit 2 rival names worth remembering. A party called Stupid Idiots and one called Heavenly Demon. Hold onto that second one because the person behind it is going to matter a great deal later, so the angel plays nice. She offers to discuss a better reward in private and leads him off alone into the forest, while the other survivors marvel that somebody actually out-negotiated an angel. Except Min Ryu knows precisely what a quiet walk into the woods means. She's planning to murder him somewhere with no witnesses, so nobody upstairs can accuse her of ruining the game. She turns on him mid-sentence and lunges, and he punches her. Clean right across the face, sends her staggering back, absolutely stunned that a mere mortal just hit her. And this is where it gets really good because he already knows her. As they fight, he tells her he knows her name is Brielle, and he knows she was about to gut him with a blade she had hidden in her wing. She threatens to pop his skull with a flick of her finger, the same way she did to that heckler in the plaza, and he calmly informs her that she doesn't have that skill anymore. She swears her fellow angels will avenge her death. He tells her the truth instead, that angels are selfish creatures, that not a single one of them will care that she's gone, and then he kills her. The system practically stops the whole game to acknowledge it. Min Ryu is the first player ever to kill an angel. That single act unlocks a stack of rewards he has been chasing since his 13th run. A title, first ever Angel Slayer, which doubles all of his stats against divine enemies. An item called the Rune of Slaughter, which stacks 1% onto every stat per kill, up to 100%, resetting when the round ends. And the big one, Angel's Blood, a unique one-time item that lets a level 10 player switch into an exclusive class you cannot obtain any other way, the Grim Reaper. There are 30 classes in this game and most of them you grind for, but the rare ones come preloaded with flawless bonus stats, runes, and skills. He knows every word of this code. He's known it for something like 80 lifetimes. Then he gets one last choice of round 1 rewards, triple experience for round 2 only, 2,000 gold, or straight up information about what round 2 holds. He doesn't need the information, he's lived it. He takes the triple experience, telling himself that this is his last time through, that there's nowhere left to run, so he has to get stronger no matter the cost. The system posts the final tally. Round 1 over. Around 900 million survivors left across every zone on Earth, a little over 5,000 in his own. Round 2 lands on February 1st, and then the souls go home. They wake up dazed on a plaza near Bosingak in the heart of Seoul, and for a few merciful seconds a bunch of them genuinely believe they all just shared the same bad dream about goblins. The fact that everybody had the identical dream is the exact detail that proves it wasn't one. The relief curdles fast. Somebody notices the person lying next to them isn't breathing, no pulse, and when they finally look up, the plaza is scattered with bodies that simply never woke back up. Roughly half the crowd that stood there at midnight is gone. The game didn't end when they left it, it followed them home, and in the middle of all that horror our guy is grinning. Trembling, actually, staring down at his own hands, because for the first time in 100 runs the board has finally changed, and he can feel it in his bones. He beat round 1 before most of the world even understood it was playing, but here's the part that should worry you more than any goblin horde. The hardest, most fragile part of Min Ryu's whole 100-year plan has nothing to do with the game. It's waiting for him back in the real world, tangled up in a life he's been carefully hiding, wrapped around the one person he'd spend all 100 of these lives to keep safe. So round 1 is done. Betrayal is dead, the Grim Reaper class is his, and the system spits him back out into the real world like nothing happened. Everyone around him is still catching their breath, still trying to figure out what a status window even is. And here's the thing I told you at the end of the last part. The most dangerous move in Min Ryu's whole 100-year plan isn't in the game. It's a 15-year-old kid asleep in the next room. His name is Ryu 1, Min Ryu's little brother and the only family he has left. Their parents are gone, and when Min Ryu thinks back on that funeral you can see the exact moment he stopped getting to be a kid himself, because from that day on he was the only person in the world who was ever going to look out for one. So when everything starts falling apart, when the news is screaming that 11% of the country just dropped dead in a single night, the first thing this max-level monster of a player does is walk into his brother's bedroom and gently shake him awake. And it turns out, isn't just a bystander. He got pulled into the game too. He looks up at his brother half asleep and casually mentions that he barely made it back alive after killing 100 goblins. Min Ryu grabs him by the shoulders, checking him over, asking if he's hurt. One brushes it off, tells him to stop worrying. And Min Ryu says the line that basically defines his entire character. How can I not worry? Because Min Ryu isn't taking him anywhere safe. He gets one dressed, gets him out the door, and when one finally digs in and refuses to take another step until he knows where they're going, Min Ryu tells him. They're headed for the hideout of a local gang boss named Bang Tiju, the guy who's been bullying one, and one just freezes. Now here's where you have to understand who Min Ryu actually is, because on the surface this looks insane. His brother is a soft-spoken middle schooler. Bang Tiju is a violent piece of work who runs a little extortion racket on kids, shakes them down for cash, beats them when they don't pay. A normal older brother might report him, might warn him off. Min Ryu is walking into his hideout to end it before it even starts. And to understand why, you have to understand what Min Ryu has already lived through. Remember, this is his 100th run. He has died 99 times, and every time the game resets he wakes up back at the beginning carrying every single memory. Which means he doesn't just remember the bosses and the traps, he remembers his own life. And in a version of it he will never let happen again. There was a day right after round 1 when one went out alone. Just a quick errand, nothing dramatic, and he came home destroyed. Bang Tiju and his crew beat him so badly that one lost his sight. In that timeline, Min Ryu was still weak, still just a scared ordinary kid, and he got a phone call from a hospital and sat down beside his brother and understood that he hadn't been strong enough to protect the one person who mattered. He whispered that he was sorry. And he swore that no one would ever touch one again. That is the price Min Ryo has already paid one time, and here's the part I need you to hold onto because it's the whole emotional engine of this series. That blindness is not one's fate this run. It's the future Min Ryo came back to erase. This time one is fine, walking right beside him, sighted, teasing him, alive. Min Ryo is standing between his little brother and a tragedy that his brother doesn't even know exists. One has no clue he's being saved from anything. He just thinks his weird, intense older brother is being weird and intense. And that gap, that quiet one-sided love reaching across timelines is going to sit underneath every cold thing Min Ryo does for the rest of this story. So he doesn't warn Bang Tae-gyu, he doesn't negotiate. When they arrive, Bang Tae-gyu is mid-shakedown, screaming at two kneeling students to hand over their money, already scheming out loud about how one would make an easy mark since he's got no parents and lives with just his brother. Min Ryo walks up. Bang Tae-gyu sneers at the stranger, asks who he thinks he is. And Min Ryo answers flat and calm, "I'm one's Hayoung." Then he takes the entire gang apart by himself. Bang Tae-gyu can't land a single punch. He's throwing everything he has and hitting nothing but air because he's swinging at a guy who just spent a lifetime fighting monsters. And when Min Ryo finally lets his fist light up with that blue player's aura, he leans in and tells him the truth Bang Tae-gyu was too dumb to see coming. If you'd been watching the news, you'd have known better than to come at a player like me. And down he goes. But Min Ryo isn't done, and this is where you really feel those 99 deaths in him. He beats Bang Tae-gyu bloody, stands over him and asks in the coldest possible voice, "Does it hurt a lot?" Bang Tae-gyu begs, swears he'll never touch one again. And Min Ryo hits him one more time anyway. His reasoning is chilling in how reasonable it sounds. You never know when someone's going to change their mind. Better to make sure. This is a man who has learned the hardest way there is that a threat you leave breathing is a threat that comes back around, so he doesn't leave threats to chance anymore. He gets to them first. Walking home, one is stunned by what he just watched and starts asking how his brother moved like that, so Min Ryo shows him a little. He pulls a black knife straight out of thin air, explains that players can summon their weapons into the real world, tells him his agility stat is sitting at 11 when a normal adult is around 3. One lights up and asks what happens when Min Ryo levels up even higher, and Min Ryo lies right to his face. Says he doesn't know, says he's never gotten that far. He hasn't, of course. He's gotten all the way to the very end 99 separate times, but he will never tell one that, and there's a brutal reason why. Back in his 11th regression, he did tell one the truth. He told him everything, that he was a regressor, that he'd lived all of this before. And because of that, another player learned the secret and kidnapped one to get at him. Min Ryo got his revenge on the one who did it. But he decided right then and there that his brother would never again suffer for what Min Ryo is, so he carries it alone. He'd rather have one believe he's just a lucky, talented player than paint that kind of target on his back. Every lie he tells his little brother is an act of love. That's the guy we're following here. And here's where it gets almost funny, because now Min Ryo needs money, and for 100-time regressor money is the easiest problem in the world. He takes one to a convenience store, treats him to breakfast, and then quietly fills out a stack of lottery tickets. One's baffled, asks why he's blowing his savings on slips he can't possibly win. Min Ryo just smiles and tells him these are the winning numbers. And they are, every single one. When the draw comes in and all of them hit, one loses his mind, and Min Ryo barely reacts because for him this isn't luck. He's done it dozens of times across dozens of lives. It's just paperwork at this point. The payout comes to around 62 billion won. The bank president himself comes out to shake his hand once he realizes one quiet young man is holding a stack of first-prize tickets all bought at the same little store. And Min Ryo isn't going to let that money just sit there. He knows Bitcoin is about to jump 5 times over, so he pours about 60 billion of it in and turns a lottery jackpot into a genuine fortune. Fast, cold, done. He needs that war chest because he knows exactly what's coming. As the death toll climbs into the hundreds of millions, the whole economy is going to buckle, and players are going to start trading their power and their gear for hard cash. He's getting liquid before anybody else even understands the game has a marketplace, but the money isn't for flexing. It buys safety, and in this world safety is life or death, literally. Because there's a rule Min Ryu knows that almost no one else does yet. On the first day of every single month, every player falls into something the story calls hypnolepsy. They black out in the real world and get dragged into the game, and while they are under, their real bodies are completely defenseless. A fire, an earthquake, or a rival's hired assassin can end you while you sleep, and if you die out here in reality, that's it. There is no respawn in the real world. So Min Ryu uses the money to move himself and one into a towering, high-security building, the kind of place where you can go unconscious once a month and trust that nothing gets to you. And you can see exactly how his whole rulebook works when you watch him handle a threat to himself. Right around the time they move, a player named Hwang Yongmin comes hunting for him. Yongmin's an old face, a guy who used to push Min Ryu around back before any of this started, and now that he's got a little power of his own, he's furious about being looked down on, chasing Min Ryu across rooftops, pounding on his door, swearing he's going to fix his manners. And the single most dangerous player in the entire game does absolutely nothing about him. He just moves into the new apartment and lets Yongmin's calls ring out unanswered. Because Yongmin is only a danger to Min Ryu, and Min Ryu genuinely does not care what happens to himself. The only threats he ever goes out of his way to erase are the ones reaching toward his brother. There's a quiet moment in the new place that tells you everything you need to know. 1. Overwhelmed by their sudden good fortune, actually starts crying and apologizes to his brother. He feels guilty for being happy about a nice home when Min Ryu is the one who keeps getting dragged back into a death game to fight for both of them. And Min Ryu just flicks him on the forehead and tells him not to look so glum, asks if one really thinks he can't make it back from the next round. He's carrying the entire weight of this world on his shoulders, and he's spending all of it so his little brother can sleep somewhere safe and feel, for a little while, like a normal kid. That is what all the coldness has always been for. Their new home comes with one more surprise. When the brothers go door to door handing out rice cakes to meet the neighbors, the last unit on their floor opens and out steps a famous actress named Seer. One's completely starstruck. But here's the layer he can't see. Seer is a round one survivor herself. Her fame, her sponsorships, this whole penthouse life, all of it only exists because she made it out of that first round alive while stars far bigger than her didn't. And as she sizes up the two boys who just moved in downstairs, her mind drifts to a memory from inside the game. A black-haired fighter who cut through goblins like they were nothing. A round one legend the other players had already started whispering about, calling him the Black Scythe. She has no idea she just handed a rice cake to him. That is the Black Scythe. He's her downstairs neighbor and he's playing dumb. That name is going to matter because round 2 is here. It's the night of January 31st and Min Ryu has one settled somewhere safe for the midnight pull. In a quiet hospital room a few minutes before 12, one holds his brother's hand and can barely get out the word Hayoung. Min Ryu tells him what he always tells him, you have to come back alive. He reminds one that he watched him take down Bang Taeju with his own eyes, tells him to go to sleep and promises that when one wakes up he'll be awake too. It's the softest this stone-cold regressor ever lets himself be, and he saves every bit of it for one person. Then the clock hits midnight, gold light rips him out of that room, and he's standing in a misty forest he doesn't recognize, surrounded by frightened players who are already backing away from him. They know exactly who he is. The one who topped the leaderboard last round. The one who slaughtered his way through the goblins, the Black Scythe. A brand new angel descends over the crowd, a replacement for the one Min Ryu killed, and round 2 is about to begin. And this is the trap the whole world is walking straight into. Everybody out there thinks the strongest player in the game is a lone wolf, some terrifying loner who works alone and needs no one. They have it exactly backwards. Min Ryu isn't alone. He's the only person here who knows the real rules, who knows the final door will never open for one man no matter how strong he gets. Behind that cold face he's already picking his pieces, already sliding them into place. The game thinks it's hunting a solitary monster. It has no idea it's watching a man quietly build an army one person at a time without a single soul noticing. So the game looks at Min Ryu and sees a guy standing completely alone. No team, no allies, one man against 900 million, and that's exactly what he wants it to see. Because in round 2 he isn't going to fight the monsters, he's going to start moving the people. Watch this. Round 2 opens the way it always does. A winged host drops out of the sky in a burst of light and feathers, and she announces the quest like she's hosting a game show. Pick a zone representative within the next 3 hours. That's it, that's the whole thing. A system window lights up and the players read it twice because there's no wave of goblins, no boss, no kill counter. All you have to do is cast a vote inside 3 hours and you pass. You go home, no combat required. And whoever becomes representative gets a power the system calls authoritative, the right to force other players to crawl or die. For most of these people that sounds like a gift. For one guy it's an insult. Hwang Yongmin, a player who poured every single point he had into his strength stat, is furious. He's basically built to hit things, and the one round where hitting things doesn't matter is the round he's stuck in. Remember that name, Hwang Yongmin, because the game keeps handing him situations he's too angry to read. Min Ryo clocks him from across the field and thinks, of course, his rune, this setup, all of it. Everything is happening exactly the way it did before, and that right there is the whole engine of this character. He's seen this round 99 times, he knows the catch nobody else does, because here's the thing about a quest that looks free. Min Ryo figures that if the main quest is this easy, there's a hidden one buried underneath it, the kind the system doesn't advertise, the kind that actually pays. So while every other player is standing around campaigning and arguing about who should be in charge, he turns and walks straight into the forest. Alone, and he starts killing. He's cutting down hobgoblins and gnolls, and every kill stacks a buff called the Rune of Slaughter, 1% stronger per body, so the more he kills the faster he kills. He's racing a hidden counter in his head toward level 10 because level 10 is the gate. Hit it and the system unlocks class selection. And a class is the one thing almost nobody in this zone is going to bother getting because they're all busy with the easy version of the round. He hits level 10 standing in the rain with a bloody dagger and the system confirms it. Class selection unlocked. And then the hidden subquest finally shows its face. Change your class before voting begins. Every class has its own condition to earn the item. Warriors have to hunt 30 monsters in an hour, berserkers have to fight while bleeding, assassins have to land ambushes from behind. Min Ryo already did the work without being told because he's done it all before. He knows the exact path to the one class he actually wants. The system asks if he'd like to change to the Grim Reaper class. He doesn't even pause, I don't even need to think about this. Yes, now watch a solo player quietly turn into a monster. The Grim Reaper class hands him a scythe, a rare weapon that stacks damage with every swing, plus a rune that doubles his damage at night and makes him almost impossible to detect while he holds still in the dark. He gets an exclusive skill called Seal of Death, which marks a target and makes his own hits do double damage to whatever's marked. And because he's the very first player in the entire zone to change class, the system rewards him again. It bumps his rank up, drops a gold pouch, and gives him a general skill called Tracking. Pay the gold, know a player's face and username, and you can pin their exact location anywhere on the map. Naturally, he test drives it. He points Tracking at that angry strength player, Hwang Yongmin, and the reading comes back 190 meters away. Min Ryo frowns because he remembers this. He was 2,000 meters away in my previous regression. Something's different this time. It's a small thing. But small things are how a regressor catches the changes in a timeline he's supposed to have memorized. So he decides to go take a look, and that walk is where the real chess starts. Somewhere in the same forest, a gang has cornered 2 people. One of them is an actress named Seo Arin, a round 1 survivor, and she is not a fighter. The other is the man guarding her, and he's already hurt, bracing to take on 4 attackers he can't beat. He's losing. And the reason this matters, the reason Min Ryo keeps walking toward it instead of away, is who that guard actually is. Min Ryo recognizes him on sight. An Sangcheol, the right-hand man of Ma Jeongrok. Now let's talk about Ma Jeongrok because he's the piece this entire round is really about. In the real world, Ma Jeongrok is the oldest son of the Osung Group, the biggest corporation in the country. Old money, real power, the kind of family that owns things most people only work for. And inside the game he goes by the handle Heavenly Demon, and he is not a decoration. He's a Dark Knight ranked near the very top, sitting right behind Black Scythe himself on the All Zones board. On paper, he's untouchable. Min Ryu doesn't want to fight him, Min Ryu wants him. Somewhere down the line, at the 20th and final round, the one that killed him 99 times because he showed up short-handed, he's going to need the strongest people alive standing next to him. Ma is one of them. There's even a priest connected to Ma that he needs too. So saving Ma's right-hand man right now for free in front of a grateful actress isn't charity, it's a deposit. Do the math the way Min Ryu does it. You save a corporate dynasty's most trusted man and the debt doesn't stay small, it snowballs, it compounds. It cascades back to you later at a scale you could never buy, so he steps in. The gang recognizes him instantly, Black Scythe, the guy who ranked first last round, and that recognition is the last good moment they get. New scythe, red energy, seal of death, he carves through them. One strike punches straight through armor because the mark doubles his damage. He brands one of them on the forehead with a glowing skull sigil and turns the rest into a warning, and then he does something colder than killing them. He stops. He chops the arms off the ones who have already given up and he lets them live. Seo Arin is shaken. She asks what happens if they die like this, and Min Ryu doesn't soften it for her. So what if they die? They're no better than beasts anyway. But the reason he spares them isn't mercy either, and this is the part that tells you exactly who he is. He explains it flat. Killing them gets him nothing, and every player who dies pointlessly shrinks the pool of people who can pass the round, which shrinks the number of open slots. Even his cruelty is accounting. An Sangcheol watches all of this and thinks the guy's understanding of the game is frightening, which is precisely the impression Min Ryu wanted to leave in the head of a man who reports straight to Ma Jeongrok. They try to thank him properly. They ask for an account number so they can pay him back. He says no need and he walks off alone again, leaving a debt wide open on purpose. Because an unpaid favor is a hook, and a hook is worth more than cash to a man playing 100 moves ahead. Meanwhile, back where the actual round is being decided, the vote is turning into a circus. Thousands of players crammed into a field, candidates shouting over each other, one guy bragging that his dad's a congressman like that means anything in a death game, the whole thing about to collapse into a brawl. And into that chaos steps a man with mint green hair. The players call him Mint Shock Man. Mint Shock Man looks harmless, and that's the trick. He tells the crowd to settle down, says he's got a good solution, and the second he asks for quiet, the entire mob goes silent and just stares at him. Because Mint Shock Man is carrying a rune called the Rune of Persuasion. It bends people toward agreeing with him whenever he talks. He started out disappointed with it, thought it was garbage when it didn't work on monsters. Then he realized the real prey was never the monsters, it was other players. He's been steering this whole election from the shadows, getting random strangers to nominate him, walking himself toward the crown while everyone thinks it's their own idea. The candidates get locked in by last round's kill rankings. First place, Black Scythe. Second place, a player going by the handle Life is a Documentary. Third, a guy called Black Flame Dragon, plus Mint Shock Man working the room. And now lock in on that second name, Life is a Documentary, because his real name is Cho Jung-sik, and he is a completely different animal from that angry strength guy Yongman. Cho Jung-sik is a knife fighter, the leader of his own faction, and by every account a genuine psychopath. When Mint Shock Man gets up to give his little speech, Cho Jung-sik cuts him off and calls him exactly what he is, a hypocrite who wins by whispering in people's ears. Mint Shock Man panics and does the one thing he knows. He tries the Rune of Persuasion on Cho Jung-sik directly, and it fails. Because the rune has a hard rule. It doesn't work on anyone higher level than the user, and Cho Jung-sik outranks him, so the trick just slides right off. And Cho Jung-sik, insulted that this con man tried to mind control him in front of everyone, cuts his throat open on the spot. The persuasion guy, the man who thought words made him untouchable, dies mid-sentence to the one person who simply refused to listen. And Cho Jung-sik doesn't stop there. He looks at a field with no cops, no cameras, no witnesses, and decides this is paradise. He goes on a spree. Then he turns to the survivors he didn't kill and lays down the rule. Anyone who doesn't vote for him, he kills next round. Fear runs a faster campaign than charm, and then he says the name that's supposed to make us nervous, Black Scythe. He wants to kill the number one player first, clear the top spot and take it for himself, and wears black scythe while a maniac is painting a target on his back, still in the forest, still farming. He's blown way past that level 10 gate, past 200 kills, all the way to level 16, casually stacking power while the entire political drama plays out without him. He isn't worried about Cho Jung-sik, he's counting on Cho Jung-sik. Then the timer hits 0, the system calls the vote, and Min Ryu turns to walk in like a man showing up to collect. The system yanks every player to one spot for the vote, and they land in a field full of corpses, Cho Jung-sik's leftovers. Min Ryu takes one look and knows exactly who did this. He's watched this man take over this zone before. In his own head, he describes him as the leader of the Jung-sik faction, second in the zone rankings, and a personality that's a real piece of work, which is a polite way of saying he already has this guy completely mapped. Cho Jung-sik strolls over, still soaked in other people's blood, all friendly. "Hey, Black Scythe, where have you been? I've been waiting for you, and then, come work for me." Min Ryu turns him down cold and asks if he really thinks someone like him would kneel. Cho Jung-sik tells him to come at him with that weapon, so Min Ryu obliges. He summons a swirling mass of blood-red energy that makes the whole crowd scream and makes Cho Jung-sik say out loud, "I made a mistake." And here's the move that names this entire section. Min Ryu could end him right there, he wants to. But he doesn't, because he thinks clear as day, I need him to be the zone representative so I can use him in the third round. He isn't sparing Cho Jung-sik out of mercy or nerves. He's leaving the psychopath alive because he wants the psychopath to win, so the angel drops in and opens the vote. One silent vote per player, 5 minutes, and if you don't vote you die. Cho Jung-sik, terrified of losing after all of that, just bullies the room, screaming that anyone not looking at him is a dead man, and it works. The board posts the results. Life is a documentary, first 2,400 votes. Black Scythe second, just under 2,100. Cho Jung-sik wins. The system crowns him zone representative and hands him the prize, a skill called authoritative position. He can command any player in the zone, force them to crawl or die 10 times. Cho Jung-sik thinks he just became a king. He has no idea he just got handed a leash by the guy standing across from him. Because here's the catch Min Ryu knew going in. Authoritative position does not work on players who have a class, and Min Ryu is a Grim Reaper. The one command skill in the entire zone is completely useless against the one player who matters. Meanwhile, Min Ryu just let a violent, predictable, ego-driven man take a crown he can steer from the outside, a representative he can point wherever he needs him in round 3. That's the Puppet King. Cho Jung-sik wears the crown. Min Ryu holds the strings. The whole zone thinks a psychopath just won. Nobody sees the hand that put him there, and then the board rubs it in. The hidden subquest results go up, and out of 900 million people, only about 80,000 across every zone manage to get a class at all. In Min Ryu's zone, the number is 1. Him. Black Scythe, level 16, Grim Reaper, first place in every zone on the planet, class changed in under 40 minutes. His own neighbors stare at him like he's a different species. He was the only one here to get a class, and he's a Grim Reaper. The round wraps with a ceremony, and the angel host can't resist twisting the knife. She interviews Black Scythe on stage, calls it fate that a man nicknamed Black Scythe pulled the Grim Reaper class, and then, in front of everybody, she announces the fine print on Cho Jung-sik's shiny new power. It only works 10 times, and it doesn't work on class players at all. She just publicly told the whole zone that the representative's big scary skill is a dud against anyone who did the actual work. Cho Jung-sik stands there cursing her out while his crown turns to paper in real time. Min Ryu collects. As the fastest player in the zone to change class, he grabs a rare armor set, and for topping every zone he takes a reward box and pulls a triple experience buff for the next round, because he already knows round 3 is crawling with monsters and he intends to farm all of them. Then round 2 closes out. Over 870 million players survive it. Round 3 is set for midnight on the 1st of March, and Min Ryu's soul snaps back into his body in the real world. He wakes up gasping, checks himself, and the first thing he feels is relief that both his arms are still attached. Because dying in the game is one thing, but he's learned that as long as he doesn't actually die, he always comes home. But the debt he planted in the forest is already moving. Co Arin and her people are trying to figure out how to repay the man who saved her, except they can't even find him. They don't know his real name, and the money they tried to send got refused, so the favor stays open exactly the way he designed it. And somewhere above the city in a penthouse, a man is about to start pulling on the same thread from the other end. Because on Sangcheol, the right-hand Min Ryu saved just made a late-night call, something about Black Scythe, come to the hotel. And Min Ryu, who slipped out of his apartment past his sleeping little brother and quietly cast tracking on Sangcheol the second he got home, is standing in a hoodie in the dark watching that car pull away, wondering if it's driving straight to Ma Jeongrok. It is. Up on that balcony, whiskey in hand, is the heavenly demon himself, the heir to the Osung group, and he's just heard the report about the #1 ranked player who stepped in to save his man. He doesn't feel grateful. He feels territorial. Nobody touches his people without it meaning something. And he says it out loud to the night. Messing with my people is the same as challenging me. I won't let anyone get in my way, even the #1 ranked player. He thinks he just found a problem to crush. He has no clue he's a piece being moved. Min Ryu wanted the most powerful man in the game to come looking for Black Scythe. And right on schedule he just did. Now the two of them are circling each other in the dark and only one of them can see the whole board. We left Ma on that penthouse balcony, whiskey in hand, treating the man who saved his people like a challenger. But when Sangcheol lays out the full report, it lands differently than Ma expected. Ma is the platinum-haired heir with the forced Dark Knight class, the #2 player in the whole game behind Black Scythe, and he wants a name for whoever put his right-hand man in danger. Except corrects him. Black Scythe didn't hurt him. Black Scythe saved him and saved the celebrity CO Arin along with him when a pack of thugs nearly beat the two of them to death. And here's the detail Ma clocks right away. Black Scythe wrecked those attackers, dragged them right to the edge of dying, and then stopped. He let them live, not out of mercy. It's cold math. Fewer survivors in a zone means fewer people fighting for the same clear, so leaving them breathing was actually the colder play. Ma hates owing anyone anything, so he hands on a job, find Black Scythe's usernames, keep an eye on him, and report back. Now the payoff lands. Outside the building, there's a hooded figure tracking as he walks off, and that figure is Min Ryu. He wanted to be seen. He watches Ma's loyal dog trot away to report to his master, and he smirks, because every single piece of this is landing exactly the way he remembers it landing. See, Min Ryu already has a way in. He happens to live in the same apartment building as CO Arin, the actress Ma sponsors. They met the boring, ordinary way, sharing rice cakes with the neighbors, him and his little brother one. And Sangcheol is Arin's bodyguard, so the plan is patient and quiet and kind of ruthless. Use the neighbor connection, become a familiar face, let Ma's trust build on its own weight. Assuming Ma even lives long enough to matter, because Min Ryu knows something about that Dark Knight class the rest of the world doesn't. It's forced on the user, not chosen, and it runs on a dark kind of power you can't refill the normal way. The way Min Ryu puts it, it's a class with an ugly price built into it, the kind of power that asks something dark of whoever carries it. And he just leaves that thought hanging. He weighs whether somebody like that even belongs anywhere near a team he's trying to keep alive, and then he files Ma away as a maybe. There are other strong players out there. He doesn't have to decide today. Then the story cuts somewhere a lot quieter. A convenience store where the owner is stressed out because the government just suspended lottery sales. Why? Because some player won first place 4 times in a row, 62 billion won, and told the press the winning numbers just came to him in a dream. The old man's rattled, worrying out loud about what the next round is going to do to people. And then his daughter walks in to cheer him up, and this is the one we came here for. Her name is Min Jury. She survived round 2 and she pulled a class called Supporter with a buff skill called Bless. She lights it up right there at the counter just to make her dad smile. So why does a max level player who solos angels suddenly care about a convenient store girl with a support buff? Because Min Ryu has run this game 100 times and he knows exactly what Min Jury turns into. Bless raises every single stat by 50%, and once she hits max level that doubles to a full 100. On its own, that already changes a party, but it's the other piece of her kit that gets Min Ryu up off the couch. Her class also carries something called the Rune of Protection, barriers. And the barrier gets stronger for every person standing near her. Sit with what that means for a second. Remember the rule that's been hanging over this entire story, the one the game executed him for breaking on his 99th run. To open the final door you need 5 people alive, not 1. A lone monster like Min Ryo can shred the early rounds by himself. He physically cannot clear the last one alone. Min Jury is the piece that makes a group of 5 actually survivable, a shield that gets tougher the more bodies you put behind it. And this next detail is going to matter way down the line. The vision tied to that barrier shows 5 figures standing inside it. 5. Nobody's said the word party yet, nobody's joined anything, but the shape of what he's quietly building is already sitting right there in the light. Back at the store, that customer who just walked in and made both of them freeze up, that's Min Ryo. He is the lottery winner. He came to apologize because his 4 straight jackpots are the reason the shop lost its lottery license, and he presses an envelope into the owner's hands. 10 million won. The old man won't take charity, refuses it flat out, and sends Jury sprinting out the door to give it back. She catches him on the street and shouts, "Min Ryo, you're Min Ryo, right?" He looks at her like a total stranger and asks who she is. She's floored. They're in the same class. Her name is Min Jury. And while she's stammering and trying to shove the money back at him, Min Ryo is thinking the quiet part to himself. He staged the entire thing. He already knew they'd never keep that cash because Jury is exactly the type who can't stand being in anyone's debt, and forcing a gift on someone like that creates a thread you can pull on later. So he refuses to take it back. Instead, he asks for her number, calls the whole meeting fate, and strolls off with a connection where 30 seconds ago there was nothing at all. And Jury, left standing there holding his number and an envelope she never managed to return, is quietly coming apart because she's had a thing for this guy for a while now. Turns out she once saw him getting cornered by a group of men shaking him down for money. She panicked, called the police, and then followed him from a distance until he got home safe. Later she spotted him working a part-time job and realized he was a whole lot tougher than he looked, and that's when the interest tipped over into something more. She just never had the nerve to actually talk to him, so to her, today is a gift from God. To him, she's an asset he's finally getting around to activating. 2 completely different movies playing in the exact same scene. A day later they get lunch and Min Ryo locks it in ice cold. "I'll keep Min Jury alive until the 20th round. His little brother one even teases him on the way out, asking if it's a date. At the table, Jury is a nervous wreck just to be sitting across from him, and Min Ryo feeds her the cover story, the dream that supposedly handed him the lottery numbers. He lies about his power too, tells her he's level 10 with no class yet when his real status window reads level 16, class Grim Reaper. She has zero reason to doubt him. She even casts Bless on him to show it off, that soft green light, 50% to everything for 3 hours, and all Min Ryo can think about is the day that number becomes 100. She insists on giving him a rare purple mana stone she pulled while hunting. They part as friends and on his side barely as that. He tops off his gold with a little regressor grinding on the way home, because honestly the recruiting was never the expensive part of this plan. The expensive part is Ma. And Min Ryo's money machine is simple and completely unfair. He remembers from a past life which way the crypto swings, so he rides the Bitcoin wave and cashes out for 300 billion won, stunning his little brother who watched 60 billion turn into that overnight. And then he makes the move this whole stretch has been building toward. He takes 280 billion of it and buys into a company sitting 85th on the market, a quiet little firm named Heavenly Demon Consulting. That company belongs to Ma Jeongrok. Min Ryo buys 31% of it. Not to make money, he is already drowning in money. He buys it for leverage. A stake that big makes him a major shareholder with real management authority, a hand on the controls of Ma's own company. And Ma has no clue that the friendly neighbor, the mystery shareholder, and the hooded man called Black Scythe are all one person closing in from 3 directions at once. So step back and look at the board he set. A buffer he's grooming who'd follow him just about anywhere, a leash bolted onto the strongest rival in the game, gold stockpiled for the gear the next round is going to demand, every piece is in position, and then it's March 1st. Across the city, right at the stroke of midnight, people just drop. Rooftops, sidewalks, mid-step, thousands of them folding where they stand under a strange radiant light bleeding across the sky. That day came without fail. The game is reaching up out of the dark to drag every last player back under. Round 3 is starting. And this is the one where the max level player stops playing chess with people and reminds the whole world why they call him the Grim Reaper. March 1st. All over the city, everybody between 15 and 29 just drops where they're standing out cold, and the world holds its breath for a second before the game swallows them whole. When Min Ryu opens his eyes again, he's not on a street in Seoul anymore. He's standing inside a ruined village ringed by a fortress wall, and right in the middle of it there's a giant glowing crystal humming on a pedestal. Round 3 has started. All around him, hundreds of players are doing the exact thing they always do, spinning in circles, panicking, one of them yelling that he got dragged to the other world again. Black Scythe just looks at the crystal. He already knows what it is. He's protected it or refused to 99 times before. Before the quest even drops, the gossip is already flying. The zone's representative this round is a guy who goes by the handle "Life is a Documentary." His real name is Cho Jung-sik, and if you were with us last round you'll remember him, the gang boss who bullied a whole zone into voting for him at knife point. People hate him. Half the crowd is muttering that Black Scythe should be running this zone instead of some thug with a blade. And that's when a young guy shoves through the crowd, drops to his knees in front of Cho Jung-sik and starts groveling, calls him his role model, begs to be taken in. This kid is Hwang Yongmin. If the name rings a bell it should, because back in the real world he's the same punk who used to push Min Ryu around at school. Here he's nobody yet, an aspiring little gangster with a big mouth, swearing loyalty to the biggest thug in the zone. Cho Jung-sik loves the flattery and takes him on. Keep that in mind, because Yongmin is about to matter a lot more than either of them thinks. Then the sky opens and the round's host comes down, not the angel from round 1, that one's dead. A new one, all white and gold and feathers, and she doesn't sound the least bit worried about a single person she's talking to. She points out there are 90 fewer players than last time, and when the crowd panics she tells them flat out it's not a glitch. Half of them die every round, that's the rule. So a quarter of them walking out of this one is just arithmetic. The main quest lights up on every window at once. Protect the relic for 3 hours, that glowing crystal in the center of the village. Monsters will pour out of the 4 castle gates every 30 minutes, 5 waves of them, and the players have to hold the line. Guard the relic for the full 3 hours and everybody gets a bonus. Let it break and the penalty is, and I'm quoting the game here, very serious. But here's the twist that decides everything that happens next. Your ranking this round has nothing to do with the relic. It's based purely on how many monsters you kill. That crystal can shatter into 1,000 pieces and your kill count still stands. And then the host drops the rule that turns the whole zone into a knife fight. The representative keeps his authoritative position skill this round, the one that lets him give players orders they physically cannot refuse. But if a rep is killed by another player, not by a monster, not by anything natural, but murdered, then the killer automatically becomes the new zone rep and inherits 10 free uses of that skill. Say that back to yourself. There is a job in this game that you get by murdering the person who already has it. The host basically painted a target on Cho Jung-sik's back and handed everyone in earshot a reason to swing. And sure enough, the second the rules are out, a pack of armed players closes in on Cho Jung-sik, openly arguing about which one of them gets to kill him and take the crown. He draws his knife and snarls that he'll take the head off whoever comes first. Then the whole crowd goes dead silent because Black Scythe just walked into the middle of it. Min Ryu tells him to relax, he only wants to talk. He's got an offer, he'll protect him. One condition. Cho Jung-sik follows every order Min Ryu gives, no questions, and Min Ryu won't even say what those orders are going to be. It's a lifeline? Nobody touches a man Black Scythe is guarding. But Cho Jung-sik is all ego and he can't stand the idea of kneeling to anybody, so he turns it down. Min Ryu doesn't argue, he just says whether the guy lives or dies is no longer his concern and walks away. The vultures circling overhead take that as a green light. The first wave hits. 9,800 goblins, weakened down to 1/3 of their normal strength, come flooding through the gate at 4,900 players. Everybody else clusters up around the relic to hold the line together, exactly the way the quest wants. Min Ryu goes the other way. He peels off alone toward the gate, calls it a personal mission, and ignores everyone asking if he really means to fight a whole wave by himself. Then he does. One man, one scythe, and he carves the entire wave apart in a red blur while Cho Jung-sik watches from a rooftop with his jaw on the floor, whispering that black scythe is that strong. And Min Ryu isn't even impressed with himself. The only thought in his head is that he needs to level faster. Because being the zone rep with a bounty on your head is its own kind of hell, Cho Jung-sik spends that whole first wave getting jumped. He slips off alone to farm a little experience and takes an arrow to the cheek, then a knife in the back from a masked player crowing that he got him. He's furious. He kills the guy who stabbed him, kills the archer, kills the next rival who comes hunting him, and by the end of it he's bleeding from a dozen wounds and finally getting the picture. The monsters were never the real danger. The other players are. For half a second he even wishes he'd taken Black Scythe's deal. Then his pride slams the door on that idea. A man needs his pride, he tells himself. He'll never go under that bastard. Meanwhile, Min Ryu is treating this bloodbath like a farming run. He's grinding goblin solo for gold and experience, his kill counter ticking past 500, already planning which skills he wants to buy and how to earn a rune called the Rune of Inner Thought sooner. Mid-battle he crosses level 20, jumps a full rank from apprentice to regular, and the game rewards him for it. His Seal of Death skill gets stronger. He unlocks a crafting system called Combination, and he earns a brand new Grim Reaper skill, Night of Death, that drops an artificial night over a 500-meter radius. Remember that one, it's going to win him the entire round. The waves keep coming, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each one leaves fewer players standing. Cho Jung-sik survives them the ugly way, by burning through all 10 charges of his authoritative position to force other players to body block for him, human shield soaking hits meant for him. But 10 uses runs out fast, and the moment it does, he's just a bleeding man with a target on his back and a mob that wants his job. He runs, he's losing too much blood to keep going, and he stumbles right into the one person who offered to save him. He drops what's left of his pride and begs. He'll do anything Min Ryu orders, just protect him. And Min Ryu looks at him and says 2 words, I refuse. He doesn't need a subordinate who's already spent his authoritative position. Survive on your own or don't. The crowd eats it alive, mocking him, telling him his life really is a documentary. And that's when Hwang Yongmin comes strolling back. The kid who was on his knees calling him his role model an hour ago. He walks up to the beaten, bleeding Cho Jung-sik with a couple of others, all smiles, saying he's here to help. Cho Jung-sik recognizes him, and you can watch the dread land, because it's not help. Yongmin grins and says, oh yeah, I had you the whole time, and cuts him down. Then he finishes it with his bare hands, beating the man he called his mentor to death while Cho Jung-sik, dying, can't even believe he got played by someone so far beneath him. The system chimes. Zone rep life is a documentary has died. Authority transferred to the murderer. And just like that, Hwang Yongmin is the new zone rep with 10 fresh charges of authoritative position. He loses his mind with it. Screams that he's the king now, starts bragging that with this power he can do whatever he wants to whoever he wants. The crowd is horrified, calling him a psycho for beating a man to death with his fists, and they start chanting to overthrow him too, the same way they were about to overthrow Cho Jung-sik. And right on cue, Black Scythe walks in again. Yongmin's whole plan was to fall back on this exact moment. He throws Min Ryu's old offer back at him, the one Cho Jung-sik was too proud to take, and now he's the one begging for it. He'll do whatever Min Ryu says as long as Min Ryu protects him. Min Ryu makes him earn it, tells him if he gets on his knees and asks, he'll think about it. So Yongmin drops and grovels, please Black Scythe, and only then does Min Ryu accept, thinking to himself that Yongmin, unlike Cho Jung-sik, actually has value. You catch the difference? It was never personal. Cho Jung-sik became worthless the second he burned his 10 charges. Yongmin is worth keeping for the exact opposite reason. He's holding 10 charges that Min Ryu wants to spend. When the mob tries to rush Yongmin anyway, Min Ryu steps between them and gives them one line. Give up the fight for rep, go back to killing monsters or die by his hand. He tells them he won't see anyone who raises a blade at him as a human being. The crowd scatters. Some of them quit the group on the spot. Now Min Ryu has his puppet, his 10 charges, and a plan nobody in that zone could see coming. He turns to Yongmin and orders him to spend all 10 uses of the authoritative position on a list of 10 specific players and compel them to do one thing: break the relic, the crystal the entire zone has been bleeding for hours to protect. Yongmin actually flinches because the list includes all of his own friends and he begs to use 9 instead of 10. Min Ryu doesn't blink, so it happens. 10 players, mind-controlled, turn on the crystal while everyone else screams at them to stop, tries to pull them off, tries to shield it. And the relic cracks and finally shatters in a burst of purple light. The system delivers the verdict. The relic has broken, you have failed the main quest, and the penalty is the whole reason Min Ryu did it, because failing that quest summons something. Being called the Agent of Divine Punishment for 30 minutes with a hidden survival subquest attached. Survive the agent for 30 minutes, get 3,000 gold, and while everyone around him is realizing they just got dragged into a boss fight they never signed up for, Black Scythe is standing there smirking. This was the plan all along. But before the boss even lands, the game collects its price. Those 10 players who broke the relic, Hwang Yongmin included, get hit with a penalty, not just for the round, permanent, 50% off every single stat forever. One of Yongmin's own friends is screaming his name in pure rage while Yongmin stammers out a useless sorry, and the outgoing rep eats the same cut for failing to protect the crystal. Min Ryu watches all of it cold and does the math in his head. A permanent half-off on your stats in a death game isn't a penalty. It's a death sentence on a delay, which is exactly why he's not planning to just survive the next 30 minutes. Everyone else in that zone hears survive for 30 minutes and thinks about hiding. Min Ryu hears it and decides he's going to hunt the thing down and kill it because killing it pays more. He gears up like he's got all the time in the world, buys new boots and an assassin's hood, uses that combination system to bolt extra stats onto his necklace, his armor, and his scythe. And then he tells you exactly what he's walking into, and this is where you want to lean in. In his last life, about 2,700 players faced this same boss, and only around 500 of them lived. The Agent of Divine Punishment is a monster the game balanced for 5 players at level 40, working together, and even then they can barely bring it down. Min Ryu is one man, nowhere near level 40. On paper, this is suicide, except for one thing he's been carrying since the very first round. Way back when he killed the Angel Briel, he earned a title nobody else in 900 million players has, first ever Angel Slayer. It doubles his stats against Divine-type enemies, and the Agent of Divine Punishment, Divine-type. So the boss built for 5 is about to meet the one player in the entire game whose numbers literally double the instant it shows up. The timer starts. The agent descends over the plaza, a towering winged figure in white and gold with its face hidden under a hood, and the first thing it does is spread its wings and cast a spell called Restriction Field. A barrier snaps down over roughly 300 players and traps them inside. Their stats drop by half, and then arrows of light start raining down inside that cage, arrows you basically cannot dodge, cutting people down where they stand. And here's the moment that tells you exactly who Min Ryu is. He looks at those 300 people dying in the barrier and he says out loud that he can't save them. Not won't, can't. He already knows there's no version of this where he reaches them in time, so he doesn't waste a single second pretending otherwise. Instead, he uses their deaths. All that chaos, all those arrows, its cover. He slips around behind the agent completely unseen because, as he coldly points out, the thing doesn't even have ears. From 5 meters out, he hits it with Seal of Death and shears 40% off its stamina in one shot. Then he goes for the eyes. He strikes out one of them clean, and before it can even react, he closes back in and takes the other. Think about that. He didn't outmuscle the boss built for 5. He blinded it. In 2 strikes, the Agent of Divine Punishment goes from an unkillable divine enforcer to what Min Ryu flatly calls a glorified sandbag, a giant swinging in the dark at a man it can't see, can't hear, and can't touch. It panics. Fully blind, it starts firing those arrows of light in every direction at once, just spraying the whole plaza hoping to catch him by luck. And Min Ryu answers with the skill he unlocked 1 round earlier, Night of Death. He drops an artificial night over the entire battlefield, snuffs out the light the agent is built around, and tells it that light cannot overcome darkness because this world system is set up that way. Then he says, "Let's end this," and brings the scythe down, and the boss has one last trick. The second its stamina drops below 10%, a passive skill called Last Radiant Fire kicks in and makes it completely invincible for a set time. Any other player panics right here, burns everything trying to break through and gets nothing. Min Ryo just stops. He stands there and waits out the counter 50 seconds 40, 10, 1 without a flicker of urgency until the invincibility drops. And the instant it does, he cuts it down. The system spells it out for the whole game to read. You have murdered the agent of divine punishment. He's the first player ever to kill it. And the game pays out like it. A brand new title, Opposer of Divine Punishment, that cuts all damage he takes from divine-type enemies by 80%. Sit with that for a second. He already doubled his damage against angels back in round 1 and now he takes almost nothing back from them. In a game run by angels, Min Ryo is quietly turning himself into the one thing they can't kill. On top of the title, he walks off with rare crafting materials and a rune that pushes his divine-type skills even higher. Even the round's host is rattled. She names herself now an angel called Olive, and she singles Black Scythe out of 900 million players as the first human she's ever genuinely acknowledged. She actually wants to know how he even thought of murdering the agent, asks him to sit for an interview in the morning like he's a celebrity. He waves her off. He says he only killed it because he wanted to, that otherwise he'd have had to sit there and watch everyone get slaughtered, which is about as close to a heroic line as this man gets, and he says it like he's bored. Then the board goes up and it's not close. Round 3 overall results. Black Scythe, level 30, Grim Reaper, ranked number 1 across all zones with 631 kills, miles ahead of the field. And sitting at number 2 under the handle Heavenly Demon is Ma Jeongrok, the man Min Ryo has been circling this whole time. In his own zone, he's number 1 too, with 2 names quietly ranked in his shadow that you'll want to hold onto: On Sangcheol and Co Arin. And then Olive shows everyone what kind of game this really is. There's a cut line. Rank 1, 225 in every zone. Anybody below it doesn't just fail. They get annihilated on the spot, wiped out by the host herself while they're still begging her to check the numbers again. She calls them insects and starts killing. When the dust settles, round 3 is over. Just over 214 million players survive across all zones, and in Min Ryo's zone, exactly 225 are left breathing, the precise number the cut line allowed. Everyone else is gone. Then the souls go back to their bodies and one last line hangs in the air. Round 4 will begin at midnight on April 1st. So let's be honest about what just happened. One man walked into a boss fight built for 5, let 300 people die because he'd already run the numbers and knew he couldn't reach them, blinded a divine enforcer, waited out its final trick without flinching, and closed the round as the single deadliest player in a game of 900 million. Nobody is close to him. And that right there is the problem. Because Min Ryo already knows how this story ends if he stays this strong and this alone. He stood at the door of the final round 99 times, and every single time the game killed him for one reason. He didn't have 4 other people standing beside him. Being number 1 doesn't open that door, a party of 5 does, so all this power, all these titles, they were never the goal, they're bait. And the next piece he needs is the one man on that leaderboard sitting right behind him, the heir to the biggest empire in the country, the player they call Heavenly Demon, Ma Jeongrok. The one target Black Scythe can't simply overpower. To land him, Min Ryo is going to have to play a completely different game, and that completely different game starts here. Here's the problem with a man like Ma Jeongrok. He's the heir to one of the biggest corporations in the country. You don't just call him up. You don't bump into him on the street. He's wrapped in money and security and layers of people whose whole job is keeping strangers away from him. So Min Ryo didn't try to get close. He made Ma come to him. Remember that consulting company Ma runs, the one Min Ryo quietly bought 31% of a while back. 280 billion, one of another man's company, snapped up by a shareholder nobody can identify. That wasn't an investment, that was bait, and it lands right on schedule. Ma's people can't crack who the mystery shareholder is. Ma himself starts wondering if it's one of his own brothers making a move on him. So he does the only thing left to do. He picks up the phone and calls the stranger who owns a third of his company. Min Ryo could have reached out first. He deliberately doesn't because a shareholder who chases you looks weak, and a shareholder who makes you come to him looks like someone you'd better handle carefully. Ma asks to meet over a meal. Min Ryo turns down Friday and takes Saturday instead. Why not Friday? Because Friday night he's got a murder to commit, and this one's personal. Okay, you need to know something about how power works in this world because it's about to matter a lot. Most of these runes, these special abilities, you earn them inside the game. You find them in certain spots during certain rounds, or you rip them off a boss when it dies. But there's a quieter truth almost nobody knows. You can get runes in the real world too. And there's one specific rune Min Ryo wants in his hands before he sits across from Ma Jeongrok. To get it, he has to find one specific man. His name is Jang Seokhyun. If you've been with me since the start, this name should make your stomach drop even though you've never heard it before. Way back, I told you Min Ryo hides the fact that he's a regressor, and that he hides it because of something that happened to his little brother, One. This is that something. In an earlier life, back in his 11th regression, Min Ryo made the mistake of telling One the truth about who he really was. And a player found out. That player kidnapped One to squeeze him for the kind of hidden knowledge only a regressor could have. That player was Jang Seokhyun. The reason Min Ryo keeps his brother in the dark, the reason he crushes every threat before it can drift anywhere near One, all of it traces back to this one man. And Jang Seokhyun is not some desperate soul who lost his way. He's a career criminal, 12 convictions. In this timeline he hasn't touched One yet, hasn't even met him, but he's already exactly who he's always been. He's got a rune of his own, a light-based one that makes his body glow and blinds anyone looking at him, and he's using it to hurt people for fun. Min Ryo tracks him to a place he knows the man will be, and he walks in right in the middle of Jang's latest crime, a woman bound and gagged and terrified on the floor. Min Ryo tells her she can go. This is her only chance, so run. She runs, and then it's just the two of them. Jang tries the blinding light first. It does nothing because Min Ryo already saw it coming and set up a skill called Night of Death, and no light is allowed to exist in front of that. Jang swings a cheap goblin's dagger, the same starter weapon he's somehow still carrying, and Min Ryo takes him apart without any effort at all, toying with him because a quick death would be far too kind. Jang starts screaming the question men like him always scream. Why are you doing this to me? And Min Ryo answers flat without a scrap of heat in it. Because letting people like you live just causes harm. He compares him to a bug you step on without a second thought. But this next part turns cold in a way that really sticks with you. Min Ryo tells him his name, Jang Seokhyun, we've met before. And Jang has no idea what he's talking about because for this version of him that meeting hasn't happened yet. It's in a future he'll never get to live, a future where he steals a boy to pry a regressor's secrets out of him. Min Ryo is executing him for a crime he hasn't committed, on evidence nobody carries but him, and the awful part is he isn't wrong. 12 convictions say the man was always going to become exactly this. There's also a reason it can't be quick past the anger. The rune Min Ryo came for, the rune of inner thoughts, only triggers when the target speaks a genuinely sincere true voice. So Min Ryo keeps him alive, keeps him in agony, refuses to end it until Jang finally, honestly from the bottom of whatever's left of him, begs to be killed. The system confirms it. The conditions met. The rune of inner thoughts appears and settles onto Min Ryo's body, a power that lets him read the actual thoughts of anyone standing within 30 meters of him. Then he wipes the entire scene with another new skill, Erase Traces. No body, no blood, no fingerprints, no footprints, green light, and it's like nothing ever happened here. And that's the payoff of the whole one thread. The man who was going to hurt his brother paid for it before he ever laid eyes on him in this life. Min Ryo walks off into the dark, and all he says to himself is, now that I've got what I wanted, I should go meet Ma Jeongrok tomorrow. So, Saturday, the most important lunch of the entire run. Ma Jeongrok picks the venue, a luxury hotel, and Min Ryo clocks something the second he walks in. This hotel secretly belongs to Ma. He chose his own turf without saying a word about it. That's the kind of man we're dealing with. So Min Ryo does the exact opposite of what you'd expect from someone who just soloed a boss meant for 5. He plays small. He decides to look as naive and harmless as he possibly can, stammers at the front desk like a nervous 20-year-old, and lets Ma's people size him up as a nobody who got lucky. Ma's right hand, a sharp operator named An Sangcheol, meets him first and immediately texts his boss a warning. This kid doesn't look like he could possibly have that kind of money. Someone else is probably behind him, be careful. Then Ma Jeongrok walks in and the two of them finally sit across a table for the first time in 100 lifetimes. Ma probes, "How old are you? Where did all this money come from?" Min Ryu, 20 years old against Ma's 29, feeds him the cover story. He's the first person ever to win the national lottery 4 times. He turned 60 billion into 280 just by dabbling in crypto. And Ma doesn't buy a word of it because nobody is that lucky, which is exactly the corner Min Ryu wants to be backed into. Because when Ma presses on how he could possibly predict all of that, Min Ryu goes quiet and then he plays the real card. He tells Ma he holds a rune called the Rune of Future, a power that lets him see a few years ahead. He tells him, dead serious, that he's a seer. Now, you and I know the truth. He's not a seer. He's a regressor who has lived this exact timeline 100 times over. But he can't say that out loud, so he wraps it in a cleaner story that explains everything without giving away what he really is. And to sell it, he does the one thing a fake fortune teller could never pull off. He tells Ma his own secrets. He tells Ma he moved into the apartment right below the actress Seo Aren's penthouse just days after getting his power. And then the big one. He tells Ma that Ma Jeongrok is secretly the eldest son of the Osung group, and that he built this whole consulting company for a single reason, to force his father to finally acknowledge him and name him the next chairman. An Sangcheol shoots out of his chair. Nobody knows that. Nobody outside Ma's own family could possibly know that. Who sent you? For half a second Ma lets himself hope, pictures himself finally winning his father's approval, then catches himself and gets angry for getting excited over something that might be a total con. And this next bit is easy to get wrong. Ma does not bite. He stays suspicious the entire time. He tells Min Ryu straight out, "I think someone hired you to lure me into a trap." He's not converting. There's no alliance here, no handshake, no group quietly forming over lunch. So Min Ryu offers one last piece of proof, the kind you can't fake because time itself will grade your work. He hands Ma intel on the next round. Round 4, he says, is not a monster hunt. It's a massacre among the players. Watch your surroundings, don't get careless. Ma agrees that if that turns out to be true, it'll be all the proof he needs. That's the whole deal, not trust, a test. Come back when the bodies prove you right, and notice what Min Ryu holds back. He does not hand over the genuinely valuable stuff, the hidden side quests, the tricks that would rocket Ma straight up the rankings. He gives him just enough to be believed and not 1 inch further. After he's gone, Ma and An agree on exactly one thing between them. Real or fake, they need this man on their side no matter the cost, which is precisely the leash Min Ryu wanted them holding. And walking off alone into the night, he decides that as long as he's playing a seer, he might as well take it all the way. Which brings him to the next piece on the board, a classmate named Min Jury. He rolls up beside her on the street in a red Lamborghini, calls out her name and offers her a ride. Jury's floored. Half at the car she guesses runs close to $1 billion, half because the whole thing feels a little like a date, and she's not exactly hiding that she'd like it to be one. Because here's the thing about Jury. She's carried feelings for Min Ryu for a long time and she's finally worked up the nerve to say it. "There's something I need to confess," she starts, and he cuts her off. Not cruelly, just first. Before she can get the words out, he hands her his own secret instead. Those lottery numbers he once claimed came from a dream, they didn't. They came from his Rune of Future. He's a seer. He gives her the same cover story he just built for Ma because he needs her believing it too, and in exchange, Jury gives him something he didn't even have to ask for. She reveals her own power, the one she's been quietly sitting on since round 1. It's called the Rune of Protection. Thin barriers wrap around her and the number of them matches the number of people standing within 10 meters of her. When 5 people gather close, 5 barriers bloom into being. Hold on to that image because I don't think it's an accident the game showed us exactly 5. That right there is why Jury matters so much. She's the piece that makes keeping a whole group of people alive actually possible. A group of, let's say, 5. None of this is warm for Min Ryu and I won't pretend it is. Alone that night, he's already running the numbers. Knowing she has feelings for him just makes it easier to pull her onto his side and easier to get her swallowing his prophecies without pushing back on them. He answers the moment with a purchase instead of a feeling, picking up an epic rank item, the shadow gloves of darkness that makes his weapon go half invisible in the dark, which pairs beautifully with that Knight of Death skill. Gear up. The round is almost here. March 31st, 11:55 at night. 5 minutes to midnight, 5 minutes to round 4. One slips into his brother's room. "Hi young, it's time," and the kid, who knows just enough to be scared, who knows his brother is walking into something armed with information nobody should have, does the thing little brothers do. He makes him promise, "You come back alive, okay?" And when Min Ryu lets something a little too grim slip out, one snaps at him. "Don't say stuff like that, that's a death flag." It lands harder than one will ever know, because his big brother has died 99 times, and every single one of those deaths started with a run that felt just like this one. Then it's midnight and the world drops away, and Min Ryu opens his eyes inside the round 4 starting zone. It's blank and stark white, wall to wall, like standing in the middle of an empty page. And almost right away somebody stumbles up to him. It's the same broken player he crushed back in round 3, the same Hwang Yongmin he forced to burn every last one of his command tokens, now saddled with a permanent 50% stat penalty and not a shred of leverage left. He recognizes Black Scythe. He's terrified of Black Scythe. And he's desperate enough to grovel, begging to renew their old arrangement, protection in exchange for obedience. Min Ryu looks at him, eyes flashing red, and tosses him aside without a flicker of feeling. "You've got no tokens left, most players already have their classes, you don't hold any value to me anymore, you're just a walking target." And he strolls away, leaving the man standing there slowly realizing he's already dead. Because every single person in that white room believes round 4 is what the rounds have always been. Kill some monsters, survive a few hours, go home to your family. That's the assumption. That's the mistake. It was never a monster hunt. This round, the monsters are each other, and at the stroke of midnight, the massacre begins. At the stroke of midnight on April 1st, round 4 drags everyone back in, and right away something is off. Everyone braced for monsters. There are no monsters. No goblins, no waves, no boss looming at the far end of the map. Just a wide open zone and a whole lot of terrified players standing around wondering where the enemy is supposed to come from. Then a new angel drifts down out of the sky. Not Brielle, the one Min Ryu killed back in round 1. This one has white wings, long white blonde hair, and a smug little smile like she already knows the punchline. And she hands them the quest: kill each other for 3 hours. That's it. That's the whole round. The enemy isn't some creature, it's the person standing right next to you. The system locks it in and the numbers make it brutal. In Min Ryu's zone, tagged with its own cold serial code, there are 1,042 players registered, and only 521 of them are allowed to walk out alive. Roughly half of everyone in that zone has to die for the other half to survive. And across every zone combined, the game is now down to about 180 million people, out of the 900 million it swallowed on day 1. Then the angel drops the part that really twists the knife. How the survivors get ranked, who lives and who dies, that's a secret. She flat out won't tell them the rules. And while every other player is losing their mind, Min Ryu is doing the one thing none of them are doing. He's thinking about who's actually running this whole thing. Because he's played round 4 99 times, and somewhere along the way he worked out something the rest of them never will. These angels aren't in charge, they're guides, middlemen. He says it plainly inside his own head. The host is someone else. Somebody is sitting behind all of it, pulling the strings, and if the angels are hiding a rule from the players, it's only because that someone ordered them to. Hold onto that thought. It's going to matter a lot more than anybody in that zone realizes. And there's one rule in particular they're hiding, one nasty little secret that's about to turn this whole round into a bloodbath. But before the killing starts, Min Ryu takes care of some business. Remember Hwang Yongmin, the wannabe gangster who beat Cho Jung-sik to death last round to steal the zone rep title, then got strong-armed into smashing the relic and ate a permanent 50% stat penalty for it. He's a total wreck now. No class, no money, no power, wandering into round 4 like a dead man who just hasn't been told yet. Min Ryu walks right up to him, promises to keep him safe from being targeted, and squeezes something off him first. An item called a black diamond. Absurdly rare, the kind of drop that basically isn't supposed to exist this round. Yongmin hands it over, grateful. And the instant the kill quest goes live, Min Ryu keeps his promise the only way he ever meant to. He kills him, and here's why that wasn't just cruelty. Killing Yangmin completes a hidden subquest that almost nobody else even knew was there. Eliminate the zone representative. Yangmin was still holding that rep title he stole last round. So Min Ryu kills him, pockets the subquest reward, and the system hands the title straight over. Just like that, Black Scythe is the new zone representative of the entire zone. Exactly one player in the entire zone managed to pull that trick off, and of course it's him. The crowd watches a man drenched in someone else's blood get handed authority over all of them, and somebody mutters that it's like giving a loaded gun to a guy who was already a walking massacre. Now they're all screaming that Black Scythe is a murderer, and Min Ryu doesn't bother arguing. He thinks back to another body on another night, a man named Jang Seokyun he tracked down and killed out in the real world for reasons that go a long way back. They're not wrong, he admits to himself. He is killed, and he'll keep killing all the way to round 20 if that's what it takes. But he clings to one line like a rule he will not break. He has never once killed a person without a reason. That single distinction is the whole gap between him and what this round is about to turn everyone else into. Then round 4 shows its teeth. Min Ryu breaks down the tracking trick for us. Every time you kill someone, your name tag changes color. Neon, then red, then darker red, kill after kill, so everybody around you can see exactly how much blood is on your hands. And it messes with people. Scared players don't want to murder some random stranger, so instead they gang up on the ones already glowing red. Feels cleaner that way, feels justified. Except, and Min Ryu says this ice cold, the second you kill a murderer, congratulations, now you're the murderer and your name lights up too. The mark just keeps spreading from person to person like a disease. And now comes the thing the host refused to tell them. Somewhere in the chaos, a fight breaks out and a guy gets killed trying to pull the two sides apart. Dead. Gone. Except 10 minutes later he sits straight up, alive, yawning like he woke up from a nap. The dead come back, that's the secret rule, die in round 4 and about 10 minutes later you respawn. And this is exactly where a survival game curdles into a horror show, because the moment people decide death has no price, they lose every last break they ever had. One woman actually tries to slow it down. She says it right out loud, "We're not even sure we'll come back, so let's not rush into this." They cut her down where she stands, and the whole zone tips straight over the edge into the massacre Min Ryu knew was coming. Somebody even runs the experiment. Kills a woman, waits, watches her gasp back to life 10 minutes later, then kills her a second time just to be certain. Yep, real. And now 1,000 players are ripping each other apart like animals with zero fear of dying. One guy is absolutely thriving in it. His handle is Black Flame Dragon, a brute with a giant axe, and he's found himself a toy. An absorption rune that fills up a little with every kill and spits out a free stat boost when it's full. He's stacking bodies, bragging that this round was practically built for him, and for one greedy second he eyes Black Scythe and wonders how huge the payoff would be for killing the #1 player. Then his survival instinct kicks in and he decides not to poke the big shot. Smart, doesn't save him. Min Ryu walks over anyway, his scythe turns half-transparent, the whole area drops into pitch black, and Night of Death wipes the man out before he even finishes the thought. He dies realizing he should have run when he had the chance. And that guy Min Ryu killed at the very start, Yangmin responds too. He comes back with nothing left to lose and a list of names, the people who stabbed him in the back after he stabbed Cho Jungsik in the back. He goes hunting. He tracks down one of his old friends, a player named Kim Seung-hin, corners him, finishes him off right there in the open, and then screams into the carnage demanding to know where the rest of them are hiding. That's round 4 in a single snapshot. A whole zone weaponizing a rule they barely understand to settle every grudge they've ever had all at once for 3 straight hours. Meanwhile, Black Scythe is just working. He clocks the one detail everybody else is too high on respawns to notice. The ranking only counts unique kills. Kill the same guy 10 times over and it still only registers as one. So mindlessly farming the same respawning bodies gets you absolutely nothing. He knows this. He even spares a man he's already killed once, and the poor guy nearly weeps with relief. And as the 3-hour clock winds down toward its final minute, Min Ryu shifts into overdrive, carving through fresh target after fresh target. One, then the next, racing to squeeze out every unique kill he can before the timer hits 0. Then time runs out, everyone gets yanked up into pillars of light and the results go live. And I need you to sit with this number for a second. Black Scythe, level 30, finishes round 4 ranked number 1 across every single zone in the entire game with 722 kills. Not 722 in his zone, 722 total and still number 1 everywhere. Second place, a shaman going by the handle Stupid Idiots scraped together 521. Third, a dark knight called Heavenly Demon managed 433. And that Heavenly Demon, by the way, is Ma Jeongrok, the untouchable corporate heir Min Ryo has been circling for weeks, and even he lands a distant third. In Min Ryo's own zone, Black Scythe is number 1 and a level 11 knight named On Sanctial comes in third with 209. One man, a million targets. Number 1 on the board that ranks the entire planet. The angel purrs that first place calls for a reward and Min Ryo cashes in. He takes a rare piece of armor, the blood-red assassin's suit, and then for his special pick he waves off the gold and waves off the round intel and grabs a 50% stat boost that only lasts through round 5, because he already knows round 5 is going to be a nightmare and he wants to hit it swinging. And then the host stops smiling. Everyone who didn't make the top 521 in the zone gets erased. She asks, almost sweetly, shall we begin the annihilation? And the players below the cut line beg and plead and scream for one more chance, and golden lightning rains down and dissolves them anyway. When the smoke clears, 521 survive in the zone, around 91 million across all zones, and round 5 gets stamped on the calendar for midnight, May 1st, with a warning that it'll be harder than anything so far. And this is the moment the mask slips a little just for us. Because Min Ryo has watched this exact horror 100 times now. 100 lifetimes of kids his own age getting torn apart for somebody's entertainment. And underneath that ice-cold strategist is a man who is completely done. Privately, quietly, he makes himself a promise. If he ever claws his way to the final round and the game offers up the wish it dangles in front of the last survivors, he isn't going to use it to go home. He's going to use it to hunt down whoever built this thing, the god he's sure is sitting behind those angels who never once showed a face, and end him. That's the rage of 100 regressions talking. He doesn't even know for certain who the host really is. But he already knows exactly what he's going to do the day he finds out. Except there's a cost to all of this that even Min Ryo can't fully shield himself from, and her name is Min Jury. She survived round 4, she made the cut. And she only made it because, wearing his seer disguise, Min Ryo had told her straight out that she'd need to kill at least 30 people to live through it. She did. And afterward, at a quiet dinner that was supposed to be a celebration, the whole weight of it comes crashing down on her. She calls herself a murderer. She asks whether someone like her even deserves to sit at a nice table and eat a nice meal. And the cold, calculating version of Min Ryo we've watched slide everyone into position all season does something you might not expect. He pulls her in, holds her, and tells her not to carry it, that she had no choice, that she had to survive because there are people at home waiting for her the same way there are for him. For the first time she drops the formal surname and just calls him Min. It's a tiny thing. It hits like a big one, so round 4 is won, dominated, honestly. Number 1 on the whole planet, a stat buff banked for round 5, a zone rep title and a rare suit of armor to show for 3 hours of hell. On paper, Min Ryo has never been further ahead. And behind the scenes, the board he's been quietly assembling this whole time is finally starting to slide together. Ma Jeongrok, the heir, is so shaken by how dead on the Seer's round 4 prediction turned out that he orders his people to invite Min Ryo to a celebration party, family and all. Which means the pieces are about to end up in the same room. The Seer, the heir, On Sanctial the bodyguard, Corin the actress, Min Ryo's little brother one, everyone he's been circling all converging on one dinner. And here's the part that should put a knot in your stomach. Because after 99 runs of monsters and angels and death games, Min Ryo is about to walk into that room and find out that the single most dangerous monster in this entire story was never inside the game at all. Round 4 was over. 722 kills, number 1 across every single zone, a brand new suit and a 50% buff banked for whatever came next. On paper, Min Ryo had never been stronger, and this is where he finally meets the threat he came back 100 times too late to see coming. Not a boss, not an angel. A man smiling at him from across a dinner table. His name is Ma Jeongrok. Heir to the Osung Group, CEO of the consulting firm Min Ryu quietly owns a third of, and the man who's been circling the mysterious black scythe for months trying to figure out who he is. And tonight, he's throwing a party. An apology dinner, he calls it, to make up for a rude first meeting. On Sangcheol, Ma's black-haired right hand picks Min Ryu up in a limousine and drives him to the Imperial Hotel. The one Ma owns, of course. Min Ryu doesn't come alone, he brings his little brother one. 15 years old, still in middle school, wide-eyed at a spread of food so ridiculous the kid actually asks if the whole thing is a joke. Ma plays the perfect host, teasing one for being the youngest player at the table, waving off the mountain of wealth like it's barely enough to fill a stomach. And just as Min Ryu is settling in, a second guest comes down the stairs in a black dress. Seo Arin, the famous actress, and Min Ryu realizes a beat too late that this dinner was never a thank you. It's a trap with a table setting. See, Ma has done his homework. Somewhere along the line he figured out that Min Ryu, the quiet majority shareholder, carries a rare class called Seer. A class that supposedly lets a player see the future. Now Ma thinks he has a fortune teller at his own table and he wants what's inside that head, specifically everything about the next round. So he pulls Arin aside and hands her a job. Smile at him, get close, make him fall for you and make him talk. Arin refuses flat out. I'm sorry to be rude, she says, but I can't do that, and Ma's warm host mask slips just enough for the blade underneath to show. He reminds her, ice cold, exactly who launched her acting career and exactly how much she owes him for it. Her fist trembles under the table, then she says yes, sir, because she doesn't get a choice, but Ma isn't done recalibrating. Reading the room, he decides the older brother is too guarded and the younger one is practically glowing with excitement. So he texts Arin new orders in the middle of the meal. We're changing targets, get close to the little brother first. Win over one, he figures, and big brother follows naturally, and it very nearly works. Arin, sticking to the script, asks Min Ryu for a photo, then sweetly suggests taking one with his brother outside instead. One just about combusts. I'm a huge fan, he blurts out, you're even more beautiful in person than in the pictures. He'd follow her off a cliff. The two of them step out of the room. And that is the exact moment Ma has been maneuvered into, though he has no idea it's happening. Because now Min Ryu has him completely alone. Min Ryu turns to him, calm as still water, and says, I guess you forgot my class is Seer. Did you really think I wouldn't know about your little conversation with Seo Arin? Ma's face does something wonderful. Every scheme he ran tonight just got read back to him, word for word, and Min Ryu drives it home. If they're going to be business partners, Ma doesn't get to plot behind his back. You must not hide anything from me. Just like that, the billionaire heir is on the back foot inside his own hotel. So Ma folds. He apologizes again and again, admits he made a foolish judgment and clears the room so the two of them can talk for real. And Min Ryu tells him the truth, or at least the useful slice of it. He came tonight for one thing, round 5, hide something, hold back trust, and their arrangement is finished on the spot. Ma starts talking. First, a warning, to make up for how many players have died off, the zones are going to merge. Which means fighters from other regions are about to spill into Min Ryu's, and Ma floats one name as an example of who they might run into. Black Scythe. Now here's where it gets delicious. Min Ryu tells him flatly, you won't be in the same zone as Black Scythe. Ma blinks. Wait, you know who Black Scythe is? And Min Ryu looks the man dead in the eye and says, that's not something I'm aware of either. Then, in a private little panel we get to see, and Ma never will, he thinks, though you're already sitting right in front of him. Min Ryu is Black Scythe. He has been the ghost haunting the top of Ma's leaderboard this entire time, and he just denied it to Ma's face without so much as a flicker. That's the whole point of the Seer cover story. Ma is sitting across from the very man he's been trying to identify for months, handing him classified round intel and thanking him for the privilege. Then comes the intel Min Ryu actually paid a whole dinner for. Round 5 quest, kill 300 orcs. Ma warns it'll be harder than anything they've faced so far, then adds almost fondly that a monster like Min Ryu won't have any trouble clearing it. And that is all we get. No round, no combat, not a single orc on the page. Just the target painted on the wall for whatever comes after this season. One more thing before they part. Min Ryu casually drops that he knows Ma is hunting down Hwang Yongmin, the pawn from round 4. Ma nearly leaps out of his skin. "You know about that too?" Min Ryu warns him off. "Your rune of future won't help you hide it from me," he says, "and if you go near Yongmin you'll suffer a lot for it." He refuses to explain why. He doesn't need to. Ma backs down, agrees to drop the search, and the two of them head back toward the party, without any drinks obviously. One's still in middle school, and this is where the story finally rips the mask off. That same night in pouring rain, a man is running for his life through the dark. Behind him walks a killer with white silver hair, a thin rapier in one hand, eyes glowing a sick yellow. He corners the man against the downpour and calls him exactly what he is: a child molester. The man begs, "That was so long ago, I already served my sentence. I'm just a regular old man now." The killer could not care less about his sentence. He runs him straight through, and then he does something no ordinary murderer does. He pours a surge of purple-blue dark aura out of the blade and into the dying man, feeding on him because his magic runs on life. "It only eats the living," he notes, almost clinical about it. "A corpse won't do." He's grinning by the time it's finished. "I guess being a dark knight really is my calling," he says, standing over the body in the rain. Here's the gut punch. That silver-haired knight hunter, the vigilante executing released criminals to recharge his class, is Ma Jeongrok. The blonde heir smiling across the dinner table and the killer out in the storm are the same exact man. A caption spells it out: 2 weeks after the party with Ma Jeongrok, and all that really changes is the light, warm party gold to cold rain silver, the same face underneath. The untouchable business partner Min Ryu has been so carefully courting is a serial killer who murders for magic and genuinely enjoys the work. And in his own twisted way, he tells himself he's the good guy since the people he hunts are convicts the system already let walk. It doesn't make him any less of a monster, it just makes him a very useful one, and Ma knows the risk. Standing over the corpse, he tells An to come clean up the trash, then a cold thought stops him. What if someone saw? There's exactly one person alive who could have. The seer, Min Ryu. If Min Ryu really can see the future, then he could have watched this murder before it ever happened. Which would mean he walked into that dinner already knowing precisely what Ma is. And clear across the city, Min Ryu lands on the very same thought. From Ma's side of things, the seer could have witnessed this whole scene through his ability, which would mean he shook a serial killer's hand with his eyes wide open. Most people would panic. Min Ryu just smirks and says one word: interesting, because a secret this dark, sitting on a man this powerful, isn't a threat to him, it's leverage. He just quietly filed away the one thing that can bend Ma Jeongrok to his will, and he isn't even going to spend it yet. And that's the shape of the monster at the center of this game. He plays every player around him like chess pieces, banks every secret he can dig up, and trusts absolutely no one. Somewhere far above all of it, Min Ryu is convinced, sits whoever actually built this nightmare in the first place. He calls it a god, and he's already sworn that if he ever reaches the final round's wish, he'll make the whole world watch him tear that god apart. But that's still only his theory. The true host of the game, the one pulling 20 rounds of strings, has never once shown their face. Not yet. And that is where Season 1 leaves us. No final boss, no last stand, just a max-level player sitting in the calm before everything gets bigger, with every piece he needs finally out on the board. One safe, Aaron within reach. Ma courted and now quietly compromised. Jury still feeding him free buffs without ever learning his real name. The group of 5 that the end game demands hasn't come together yet, not even close, but for the first time in 100 lifetimes, all the pieces are sitting in the same city at the same time. Then the story plays its last card. The game was never the only source of power. Out in the real world, a system of runes is starting to wake up, 5 of them in total, and one is about to surface just for Min Ryu. The rune of incarnation. His stretch of deliberate rest is over. He opens a real-world network called Players Changing the World, thousands of players already gathered inside it, and taps join. Now he thinks it's time to move. The hunt he's been building toward across 100 regressions is only just getting started. So that's Season 1 of the 100th regression of the max-level player. If a man with 100 lifetimes of memory and every advantage in the world finally decided to stop playing it safe, who do you think he goes after first? The god who built the game, or the killer smiling across his own dinner table? Drop your answer down in the comments and hit subscribe so you're right here when we break down Season 2.